चेतो दर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादावाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयः कैरवचन्द्रिका वितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम्। स्वामिन् नमस्ते नतलोकबन्धो कारुण्यसिन्धो पतितं भवाब्धौ मामुद्धरात्मीयकटाक्षदृष्ट्या ऋज्व्यातिकारुण्य सुधाभिवृष्ट्या। स्वामिन् नमस्ते, स्वामिन् नमस्ते, स्वामिन् नमस्ते, स्वामिन् नमस्ते। स्वाराज्य साम्राज्य विभूतिरेषा भवत्कृपा श्रीमहिमप्रसादात् प्राप्ता मया। श्रीगुरवे महात्मने नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु। नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु। नमो नमस्तेस्तु पुनर्नमोस्तु। Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So, we were discussing the Upadesha Panchakam of Sri Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya. And yesterday I told you it will be nice to know about Shankaracharya, why he was born, what he did for the whole of Bharatavarsha and our Vedic system of life, how even now those systems are going on in the country and how it has helped mankind. You know, I will take you to a small village in Kerala. He was born in Kerala in a place called Kaladi. It is quite near to the place where we have the ashram, Chuchu, in Chuchu. And there is a Purna river there. Shankaracharya was born there to his parents named Aryamba and Shivaguru. That was a time when in the country people in mass had gradually abandoned the Vedic ways of life. When Lord Buddha incarnated and he became Buddha, he preached the message of compassion, ahimsa and dharma. He spoke about dharma and sangha, but he did not speak about God. Those who followed him, they considered Buddha himself as God and they followed him, worshipped him. They evolved rigorous logic to defend their school of thought. And in few centuries, what Buddha manifested, the vigor and purity that he had, all were lost. People swayed away from pure Vedic injunctions and life became not according to the Vedic injunctions and dharma. So there was a lot of confusion. Many other schools of thought also came about. At that time, it was absolutely necessary that the Sanatana Dharma is revived, and that is the time when Shankaracharya got born, and it is said he was an incarnation of Lord Shiva himself. So in Kaladi, he was born in the year 788 AD to Shivaguru and Aryamba. And these couple, they were Brahmins, Nambudri Brahmins, and they went and prayed in a Shiva temple which is in Trichur, in Vadakanathan. And it is said that after the prayers, Shankaracharya was born. His birth actually marked the revival of Vedic system. How it came about, we'll come to know. See, when he was a child itself, and his father died, he was a very young child. So the mother, who became a widow, somehow brought him up. And she conducted his Upanayana also. And after the Upanayana, he started his Vedic education. He started studying the scriptures, and everybody understood that he is a prodigy. He learned all the scriptures in no time and in depth while he was still a child. And those things people could understand because certain things happened which were not very normal or usual for children of that age. One such instance is that, as a brahmachari, one is supposed to go around and ask for and beg for alms. They must go around to various houses and ask for food. So one day he went to a house where it was a very poor house. So he didn't understand that, and he called out, Bhiksham Dehi. So the lady who came out, she said, my child, we don't have anything to give you. Nothing is there. She was very poor. Then she felt something. She said, wait, let me see whether something is there. And she brought out one small amla, gooseberry. That is the only thing she had. And she gave it as bhiksha to Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya's heart melted seeing the poverty of this lady. So he immediately composed one shloka, not one, few shlokas on Lakshmi, which is called Kanakadhara Stotram. And when he was composing, Lord Lakshmi started showering golden gooseberries for this lady. The whole courtyard was full of golden gooseberry. That is why it is called Kanakam is gold, Kanakadhara Stotram. Another time, the river Purna was a little away from their house. So mother used to go for bathing there every day. So one day, the mother became very exhausted in the sun while walking from the river, and she fainted. So Shankaracharya then invoked the river and prayed that please change the course and come near our house so that my mother doesn't have to go to such a distance and she should not feel exhausted. To everybody's surprise, the next morning, the river had changed its course. So seeing these unusual happenings, people started thinking that whether this boy has some unusual power. Anyway, all this, when it was happening, Shankaracharya at that age, very young age, maybe 11, maybe just 12 years or 13 years, he started having a call for sannyasa. He felt that his goal was to realize the self, the absolute self, the Brahman, one without a second, which he has learned about in the Vedas, and he has learned them well. So he wanted to realize it, and he understood that remaining in the house will never be able to realize it. He must go to a guru and learn under him and take up sannyasa and then realize the supreme truth. So he started telling the mother that I want to go away as a sannyasi. But mother, he was the only child, a son, and the mother was a poor old widow. So mother was not giving consent. So one day it so happened, when Shankaracharya was taking bath in the river, a crocodile came and caught his legs and started dragging him inside the river. Maybe it was just the act of destiny. Shankaracharya started crying aloud and mother came running there. And when the mother saw this, Shankaracharya called aloud, Mother, if you give consent for sannyasa, this crocodile will leave me. So mother was in a fix. Then she thought, let him take sannyasa, at least he will be living. Let him be in a sannyasi's robe, at least he will be alive. And if I don't do so, he will be dead. So mother said, okay. And very strangely, the crocodile also went away. He jumped out of the river and he wore the Gerua clothes. Now, the mother was very much distressed. Oh my son, now you will be going away. Now who will be there for me? If I am in difficulty, who will be there? Even when I die, who will do the last rites for me? And she started crying. Seeing the mother crying, he said, Ahanyambaratri samaye samayantareva sanchintaya swabashaga abashaga athavamam eshyami tatra samayam sakalam vihaya vishwasamapnohi mritavapi samskarishye. He said, oh mother, don't worry. Whenever you call me, whether you call me in the daytime, whether you call me at night, whether you call me in the mid-afternoon, any time you call me, I will leave all my work. Whatever I am engaged in, I will come and I will be by your side. And at that time, whether you are conscious or unconscious or burdened with sorrow, I will be there. Also, I will do the last rites for you. Believe me, mother, and please give me permission to go away. So, mother said, okay. And he kept his promise. Much later, when Shankaracharya was traveling throughout the country, trying to revive the Vedic system of life, defeating all the schools of thought, he came to understand that mother was in her last days. And he appeared there. He appeared and seeing the mother who was bedridden, he started instructing her on Brahma Vidya. Mother was not understanding anything. So he composed Shiva Bhujanga Prayata Stotra. That also mother was not interested in. Then he composed Vishnu Bhujanga Prayata Stotra. Then the mother was seeing Vishnu coming down in a chariot. And mother could merge into Vishnu by hearing those slokas. It is said that at that time Shankaracharya also composed 5 slokas on mother, which is called Matru Panchakam. The first one is, when I first heard it from our Swamiji, tears came to my eyes. How one can write slokas like this, thinking of the mother? Astam tavadiyam prasuti samaye durvara shulavyatha nairutyam tanushoshanam malamayi shayyacha samvatsari ekasyapi garbhabhara bharana klesha yasyapi tasyakshamo datum nishkritimunnato pitanayah Tasyai jananyai namaha. He says, Astam tavadyam. A mother is one who has unconditioned love for the child. It can be equated to, compared to divine and pure love. The mother does not expect anything from the child. She will be only having thoughts about the welfare of the child in any situation. So, what does the mother do? Astam tavadiyam prasuti samaye. She undergoes so much of trouble for the child. During delivery, Durvara Shulavlyatha, Prasuti Samayam is when she delivers, Durvara Shulavlyatha. She has lot of pain during delivery. Then after delivery or just before delivery, what happens? For so many months, Nairutyam, before the delivery, she doesn't have appetite. Tanushoshanam, because she is not able to eat proper food, she becomes very emaciated. Then after delivery, what happens? Malamayi Shayyacha Samvatsari. For nearly 1 year or more, she has to share a bed which is soiled with urine and stool of the child. But if we think, we will understand that even though it is so, the bed will be smelly and dirty, the mother will be cuddling the child and will fill the child with pure love. This is the mother. This is what the mother does. So Shankaracharya says, let all that be, that is known to everybody. But what is more is ekasyapi garbha bhara bharana klesha yasya tasya kshamo ekasyapi garbha bhara bharana klesha. But apart from all that, the weight of the fetus that the mother carries for so many months, that difficulty or problem or the suffering that the mother has, which she bears happily and eagerly, that no son, no child can repay back. Even if the child is having lot of wealth, lot of prosperity, is known to the whole world, has so much of good reputation, name, fame, everything, the son will not be able to repay it back. What he cannot repay back? The trouble that the mother has taken by bearing the weight of the child for so many months in her womb. So he says, Tasyai jananyai namaha. To that mother is my salutations. So, that had happened much later when the mother passed away. Now when the mother gave him permission, he went looking for a guru and he started walking, a small boy. When was the time? 788 AD, maybe another 13 years later. So he started walking on foot. There was no vehicle to take. He reached Narmada banks. Just understand the distance from Kerala to Madhya Pradesh. Is it not in Madhya Pradesh? So, now, he went in search of a guru. He is the guru of gurus. He is the acharya of all acharyas. And he is the incarnation of Lord Shiva himself. But despite having mastered all shastras, all scriptures, he is seeking a guru so that he can be illuminate. Because in our shastras itself it is written, Guru Mukhat Shravanam. It's not like what you listen in a lecture. You must sit day after day, making a discipline at the feet of the Guru and listen to him. Not according to your own convenience, according to the time which the Guru sets forth. And then only you will be enlightened. What do we do generally? The time will be given, we feel that this is the convenient time, so we can come at this time. Someday we will come, someday we will not come. This is how we want to get knowledge. But knowledge is not transferred like that. Day after day, in a very routinous manner, in a very disciplined manner, the knowledge has to be imbibed. So, he found his guru there. Who was the guru? Govinda Bhagavat Pada. Govinda Bhagavat Pada was the disciple of Gaudapada. You know, Mandukya Upanishad Gaudapada had written a Karika, that is explanation. Govinda Bhagavatpada was the disciple of Gaudapada. So, Govindapada was there. How does one know where sages are staying? Shankaracharya, also just like others, he started looking. Have I come to the right place? Is it where my guru stays? Then he found some barks and some deer skin hanging from trees. So he thought, some sage must be staying here. So he entered there. And are you able to see this? Imagine the scene. A little boy, he's entering a dense forest because he has seen and spotted deer skin and bark hanging, and he feels a sage must be there. And when he went, he saw nobody. But there's a very beautiful sloka, but I did not try to tell you because it will become long and longer. It says that there were such beautiful trees around and very nice cool breeze was blowing. This young boy was without food, walking and walking. He was fatigued. So when he sat there, first he sat and he became refreshed. Then with tears in his eyes, with folded hands, he started singing praise for Govindapada. You know, in Viveka Chudamani every day, we are chanting this shloka in the beginning. This is Shankaracharya's Kriti, Viveka Chudamani. And in any composition, always the writer does prostration to the Guru. So there also, Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tama Gocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranamamyaham. He says, Govinda, by Govinda he must have meant his Guru, Govindapada. Sadgurum Govinda, that is, who is a Sadguru, I do pranam to him. So there he has reached and he is, with tearful eyes, he is praising the Guru, the Supreme Guru he was praising. Now Govindapada was in meditation. He intuitively understood a visitor has come, a young boy has come, seeking Brahma Vidya. And he got up and he also understood the greatness of this boy by his intuition that he is no ordinary boy. He has come to be established in self-realization, but he is somebody who will be bringing about a great change in this country. Meanwhile, this small boy, in his stuti and hymns, he was praying for instruction for self-realization. So Govindapada got up from the samadhi and asked him from inside the cave, who are you? So he composed 10 verses. Dashashloki it is called. He started saying who he is according to the spiritual realization. That is, I am not fire, I am not Akasha, I am not the sky, I am not the fire, I am not the water. I am the soul which is infinite, which is imperishable and absolute. Like this it starts. And all 10 shlokas he chanted. Govindapada was very pleased. So what he did, he came out and sat there with his feet towards the disciple. And Shankaracharya, first thing what he did, he washed his feet and did puja. And by this one act, he indicated to the whole world, the first duty of a disciple is to do worship at the feet of the Guru. That is what one should do. If one will not do this worship, if one wants real benefit from the Upadesha or the instructions what the Guru has given, one wants to be merged into these instructions, assimilate them and live them and realize them, then he must worship the Guru and do service to him. This is what he told the whole world. Then he was accepted by his Guru Govindapada. Govindapada became very fond of him. He was staying with him And through 4 Mahavakyas, Govindapada gave him realization of the self. He already knew the Shastras. He already knew everything. He knew what is his real identity, what is self, what is Brahman, everything he knew. But going to a Guru, through the Guru's teachings, he got established firmly in that knowledge. And then Govindapada blessed him and told him, you go to Varanasi. There are many, many learned people are there, and there are people of different schools of thought. They have forgotten what the Vedas are teaching us, and they have brought about their own way of explanation of the Vedas. So you go there, you make commentaries on the Vedas, and you also discuss with the learned people. So Shankara went to Varanasi. He stayed there for a long time. When he went, he took a dip in the holy Ganges. He went to the Vishwanath temple, there propitiated the Lord, and then he started staying there. Just like iron filings get attracted to the magnet, those who understood what he was saying, people started coming and flocking around him. And one of the main disciples was Sanandana, who later became Padmapadacharya. So, with few disciples in Varanasi, Shankaracharya started roaming about. Wherever he found Pandits, he would get into arguments with them, try to explain to them what is this Advaita Vedanta, what are the Vedas teaching us, what is the Vedic system of life, all these things he would tell. So there would be a lot of discussions and arguments. One day when Shankaracharya and disciples were going for taking bath in the river, a Chandala is a low caste or outcast, you can say. Those who sweeper, they come from the sweeper families. And those days there were a lot of caste discrimination. Even in our country these days also there are so much caste discriminations. So those days whenever a Chandala or a sweeper would go, and if Brahmins happen to go that way, the Brahmins will be making sound and telling them to go away from the road so that they don't cross each other. So seeing that a Chandala is coming with 4 dogs, Shankaracharya and his disciples started making sound, saying that, go, 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 go. So this Chandala stopped. He did not go. And he made a question to him. He said, Annamayad annamayam athava chaitanyameva chaitanyat Dvijavara durikartum vanchasi kim bruhi gaccha gaccheti Annamayad annamayam athava chaitanyameva chaitanyat Dvijavara durikartum vanchasi kim bruhi gaccha gaccheti. He says that I want to ask you a question. You are saying, go, go, go. Whom do you want to go? This Chandala body should go away from the Brahmin body, or the Chaitanya in you Chaitanya in me should go away from the Chaitanya that you have. Which do you want? You please explain to me. You are saying Gacha Gacha, that is go, go. I want to know what you want to, which thing you want to go away. Then he says that a person like you who has non-dual experience, who has experienced the self as I, and who has also understand that the individual self is nothing but the universal self, the Brahman. How can you make a difference between a Brahmana and a Chandala? Please give me a reply. And further he says, Kingangangu nibimbitembaramanau Chandalavati payaha Pure vantaramasmi kanchana ghati Mritkumbhayor vambare Pratyagvastuni nistaranga sahajananda vabodham budhau Viproyam शपचोऽयमित्यपि महान् कोऽयं बिभेदभ्रमः किं गङ्गाम्बुनिबिम्बितेऽम्बरमणौ चाण्डालवाटीपयः पूरेवान्तरमस्मि काञ्चनघटी मृत्कुम्भयोर्वाम्बरे प्रत्यग्वस्तुनि निस्तरङ्गसहजानन्दावबुधाम्बुधौ विप्रोऽयं शपचोऽयमित्यपि महान् कोऽयं बिभेद भ्रमः. He says, the sun is shining. The sun is in the sky, it is shining. And we may see reflections at many places in water. Suppose we see the reflection of the sun in Ganges water and in a pitcher of water which belongs to a Chandala. There also the sun is shining. Is there any difference in that reflection? He is asking who? He is asking Shankaracharya. Then he says, if a pitcher is made of gold and the pitcher is made of earth, the space or sky that is inside those two pitchers, can there be any difference between that? Because the vessel is made of gold, another vessel is made of earth. By that, does the space or the sky inside the two vessels become different? So, the one universal, unblemished spirit, which is agitationless, which is full of ananda, is shining in all bodies. This is the truth that we have realized. How can there be a difference between Brahmana and Chandala? I want to ask you. He says, Viproyam, you are a Brahmana and you are asking me to go saying Gacha Gacha. I am a Chandala and you are making this difference, whereas we are both the same self, the same spirit, which has the same attributes. So why are you asking me like this? And, immediately, Shankaracharya realized the mistake that he was making. He fell at his feet. He kneeled down and he said, oh, a man, if he is ever established in pure consciousness, he is indeed my Guru. You are my Guru. You have given me this knowledge. In spite of having experienced the knowledge, I was making differences because of my habit. Now I have understood. So a man, even if he is a Brahmin, even if he is a Chandala, if he is a person who is ever established in consciousness, he is my Guru. And he chants, Jagrat Swapna Sushuptishu Sputatara Ya Samvidijrumbhate Ya Brahmadi Pipilikanta Tanushu Prota Jagat Sakshini Saivaham Nacha Drishyavasthiti Dridhabhyatyapi Yasyasti Chet Chandalostu Satudvijostu Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. He said, my mind immediately accepts you as a Guru, even if you are a person who is a Brahmin or if one is a Chandala. If that person is ever established in this consciousness and understands that he is that absolute one without a second ever pure consciousness, I bow down to that person. So he said, and when he said that, you know what happened? The Chandala disappeared. Lord Shiva appeared and Lord Shiva blessed him. So he started praising Lord Shiva. He said, my salutations to you, O Lord. You are that being who is the essence of all scriptures. And any scripture is of no avail unless it is accompanied by Guru's grace. But if Guru's grace is there, unless it generates awakening, then also it is useless. So, it is not only that one must be devoted to the Guru, absolutely with whole heart and mind, only then, and unconditionally, unreservedly, without expecting anything, one should be devoted to the Guru. Then only the knowledge can be transferred. Suppose you have in your mind reservations. The Guru will not be able to give you the knowledge in a free manner. So he says that first of all there should be Guru's grace. Secondly, the Guru's grace should bring about awakening in the mind. And the awakening also becomes purposeless unless it gives knowledge of truth. Suppose the awakening also is done, but you don't make use of it. So the Guru is imparting knowledge. Definitely he will be explaining the Shastras, expounding the Shastras, but every moment, through every action, every thought, every word, the Guru will try to impart the realization and make you stabilized in that realization. But suppose whatever the Guru makes effort, your mind goes to other unnecessary and meaningless things, then naturally you will not be able to retain what the Guru has given. So it says that awakening may be there, but that also becomes purposeless unless it gives knowledge of the truth. So he says, my pranams and my salutations to you, O Lord, to that supreme truth which is myself alone. This is my real identity. I am the supreme truth. So Lord Shiva said, you have realized my own being. I bless you. Now you have a lot of work to be done in this world. Vyasa edited the Vedas and he composed the Brahma Sutras. Now, with your real understanding of the Vedas, you write a commentary on Brahma Sutra. That is, write a bhashya. It is called Brahma Sutra Bhashya. Bhashya means commentary. So write a commentary on Brahma Sutra. And with all that, all your compositions, you should use them to refute all the false theories which are rampant in this world now and re-establish the Vedic way of life, re-establish the Sanatana Dharma, re-establish the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. That is, there is only one self, that is Brahman, that is absolute, one without a second, imperishable and eternal. And the individual self is nothing but Brahman. Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. He said, spread this knowledge of truth in the world and you appoint your disciples to guard this knowledge so that they can also, after yourself, they can also keep this knowledge sustained. Saying that, Shiva went away. Then Shankara started his work. He first wrote the commentaries on Prasthanatraya. What are the Prasthanatraya? Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and Brahma Sutra. He wrote them. And these commentaries were monumental work covering the import of the Vedic teachings, and they were written with unparalleled, clear reasoning and lucid exposition. It was very much necessary because the Buddhists at that time, they had spread their way of thinking with a lot of logic, very hard logic. So to break those, it needed a lot of reasoning. If you read the Upanishads, in many of the Upanishads you will find there is a lot of argument. Those arguments are only to refute these schools of thoughts. So pupils gathered round him, so many disciples were there, and Padmapadacharya already was there. The Sanandana was already there. Sanandana was the best of the lot till then. And with all the pupils around, Shankaracharya was looking like a sun with rays spreading everywhere. Sanandana had very good qualities. He had devotion to study, very, very enduring. He was having tenacity, he was having austerity, and he had the capability to understand what was being imparted. So he was very dear to the Guru, to the point that other disciples were becoming jealous of him. So one day, the Guru thought, Shankaracharya thought, that people should understand the qualities of Sanandana. He has so much of devotion to the Guru. So to make people understand, one day, when Sanandana was across the river and Shankaracharya was on this shore, Shankaracharya suddenly called him. He was so devoted to the Guru, he did not wait for a moment to think, how will I cross the river? He simply stepped into the river thinking he will walk and come. And because of his pure devotion to the Guru, nature also started blooming one lotus. So he would keep his foot on one lotus, then another lotus came, he would keep the second foot there. Like that, lotuses came in, and he just walked on the lotuses and reached this shore. So his name became Padmapada. Padma is lotus, Pada means feet, Padmapada. And when he became the Acharya, that is the teacher, his name became Padmapada Acharya. Now, Shankara started going around refuting all the schools of thought. He became a terror to other doctrines. He restored among the masses the true understanding of what self is, what Brahman is, what the Vedic life is, what the Vedas have taught, and how one can reach liberation. That is what our Upanishads and the Vedanta and the Veda, it is saying that one must have moksha in life. So, how this is taking us towards that, and for that to attain moksha, we have to first realize the self, the individual self, as different from the body, and then understand that the self is nothing but the universal self, the Brahman. So he started, having debates with people, going from place to place to place. Many of the teachers came to do debate with him. And one day, Vyasa himself came to see how much he has learned. So after a lot of debate, Padmapadacharya suddenly understood that he is Vyasa. The manner in which this Brahmin is debating, it cannot be anybody other than Vyasa, because Vyasa was asking questions on Brahma Sutra, which is composed by Vyasa himself. So when it was understood, they fell at his feet. Vyasa blessed him, and Shankaracharya propitiated him. And Vyasa said, see, Shankaracharya also said that I am very blessed. I think all my work has been done, now I can leave my body. Vyasa said, no, still not done. You should go from place to place, from one corner of the country to the other corner, everywhere, and defeat all the schools of thought. Otherwise, whatever you have established, it will die an immature death. So, hearing that, he first went to Kumarila Bhatta. When this Sanatana Dharma or the Vedic instructions were at stake, Kumarila Bhatta, he was trying to bring about a little change and revive it, but he stressed upon Vedic ritualism. Most of it ritualism, not the Advaita Vedanta at all, not the Upanishads. He said that people should do karma, keep on doing work, and doing that only one will get liberation, which is completely different from what the Upanishads tell us. In the Upanishads, in the Mundaka Upanishad, it is said initially, lot of praise has been done for all kinds of yajnas. Yajnas have been described, but ultimately it has been said, Pravahyete adridha yajna rupa. That is, all these are leaky boats. If you keep on doing this karma, desiring that you will get something later on, all these are leaky boats. It will never give you permanent abode. It will always put you through happiness and unhappiness, happiness and unhappiness. It will never take you to supreme bliss. And then it has said, the Upanishads have said, Parikshya lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamayan nastya krita kritena tadvijnanartham sagurumevabhigachet samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtham. Parikshya lokan karmachitan brahmano. Kumarila Bhatta and all, they were saying, keep on doing work. That is, yajna and sacrifices and all that. It says, it is a leaky boat, it will take you nowhere. And then a Brahmin who has been doing it, he ultimately understands that I am doing so much of work, thinking that I will get some bliss out of it. And that bliss will be permanent, and I am not getting it. So he feels that this is not the way to attain moksha. Then what he does? He looks for somebody who will tell him the way to get moksha. Tad vijnanartham, to understand that process or the path or the way of life by which he will be liberated. Sa gurum eva abhigachet. He goes to a guru. And how does he go? And what is the kind of a guru? Guru is Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Shrotriyam is who knows the scriptures, who lives the scriptures. Just like Shankaracharya. He has understand the real essence of the scriptures. And Brahmanishtam, his nishtha is only in knowing Brahman. What are the nishtha of the common people? Nishtha is the world. We only want to acquire things from the world, acquire happiness, enjoy and get objects and acquire things and enjoy those things one after another. Our desires never get satisfied. We are never contented. But the one who is a guru, he is Brahmanishtam. His nishtha is only on Brahman. Whatever he does, he will find Brahman in that. And that is possible. They say that yes, you have to do your work. You live your life. But in everything you bring about a divinity. Every moment you bring about a divinity, associate divinity with it. So Kumarila Bhatta was one who brought about a little bit of revolution or revival, but through ritualistic practices. And he was a staunch ritualist. So Shankaracharya thought that I have to defeat him. When he went to Prayag. Kumarila Bhatta was there. He found that he is actually committing suicide. And in what manner? He has covered himself up to here with husk. And that mound of husk is going to be ignited. Why? Because this is how he is doing prayaschitta. That is, he has done a mistake. He has deceived his teacher. He wanted to defeat the Buddhists. So he told a lie to the Buddhist monks, told that I am also following Buddhism, and he went inside the Buddhist monastery to understand what they do and thought that knowing that he will be able to very well defeat them. But it was understood and he was caught. So the condition is that if you deceive your teacher, you must have this kind of a death by setting fire to yourself, covering yourself with husk. So he was doing that. He was a very righteous man. When Shankaracharya went, he understood that Shankaracharya has come because he had also heard about him, about the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. And he welcomed him and said that I am just about to die. I have heard that you have written a commentary on the Brahma Sutra. I myself thought that I will write a commentary on the Bhashya itself. That is a commentary over the commentary. That is called Vartika. I thought I will write that, but I did not get any opportunity. I know that I have a conviction that you will protect the doctrine of Advaita. And by seeing you, I have become sinless. Though I have been highlighting these ritualistic performances, I know that you are going to bring about a revival in this country. So Shankaracharya said, I will save you. He said, no, I am very righteous. Because I have deceived and it has been found out, I must die this kind of a death. But I would say, in your mission of defeating various schools of thought, you go to Nandan Mishra, who is also a ritualist like me, and you defeat Mandana Mishra and you become a winner. So he went. Also, he asked for Brahma Vidya initiation. At that point, just look at our country. He's just about to die. He's telling that please give me Brahma Vidya initiation. And Shankaracharya initiated him to Brahma Vidya, and then the husk was ignited and Kumarila Bhatta slowly died. Shankaracharya then went to Mandana Mishra. Mandana Mishra was staying in Mahishmati, somewhere in Bihar. When Shankaracharya entered that place, he met Mandana Mishra, who used to dislike the sannyasis like anything. So he was welcomed. No, he was not welcomed actually. He was told harsh words, and Mandana Mishra started shouting at him and got into a violent argument with Shankaracharya. Naturally, when Mandana Mishra said something, Shankaracharya also gave him back, and all in Sanskrit. I think someday Swamiji can tell you. It's very beautiful, that conversation. So, various other sages were there. Various learned people were there. They all said that, please stop now. Let both of you have a debate. And the time was fixed for the next day. And it was decided whoever loses will become the disciple of the other. That is, if Mandana Mishra loses, he will have to become the disciple of Shankaracharya, that is, take up sannyasa. If Shankaracharya loses, then he will have to become a householder, being a disciple of Mandana Mishra. And who will be the judge? They all selected Mandana Mishra's wife, who was very learned. Her name was Ubhay Bharati. So Ubhay Bharati said, okay, and she gave 2 garlands to the 2 opponents. And she said that whosoever's garland withers, that person should be considered as a loser and the other one a winner. So many days the debate went on. Ultimately, one day, and every day they will not come to, nothing will be decided. Every day both will be doing very well. So after the debate, every day Ubhay Bharati used to call them for food. Sannyasins, we don't say that we are going for food. It is called bhiksha. Because we don't have any earning of our own. We are always begging. So if somebody gives us food, we can take. As Swamiji says, every drop of blood is made with devotees' offerings. We don't have anything of our own. So it is called bhiksha. So every day after the debate, Ubhay Bharati would be calling Shankaracharya for bhiksha and her own husband for food. This will be the difference. And both the garlands would not have, nothing has got withered. One day came when Sureshwaracharya's garland was gone. It became dry. So that day Ubhay Bharati called Sureshwaracharya and Shankaracharya both for bhiksha, saying both of you come for bhiksha. So that is, she has given a judgment that her husband has got defeated and so he should become a sannyasi now. And that is why she is calling him for bhiksha also. But she told Shankaracharya, you have defeated my husband, but I am a dharma patni and I know the Vedas also. You cannot be called a winner unless you have a debate with me and you defeat me also. So please, let us go ahead. So that debate also went for 17 days. She was giving up a lot of fight and giving very good reasons. It did not stop. Ultimately, no decision was being taken. Then she said that I now want to ask you something from Kama Shastra. Please give me these are my questions. Kama Shastra means the science and art of sexual life. So he is a bachelor. He is a celibate. Shankaracharya, he doesn't know anything of that. So he said, okay, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to face your questions. But since I'm a celibate, I will take 1 month's time to understand what Kama Shastra is. So please give me that time. She agreed. So Shankaracharya and the disciples, they started discussing what can be done. Shankaracharya said, only if I can enter into a body who is a householder, and that body gets up even though it has died and goes back to the house and starts the normal life, I will understand what this husband-wife relationship is. So they looked and started thinking, and they found in one kingdom, Raja Amaruka has died. King Amaruka has died. So Shankaracharya said that I will enter that body. So when I go out of my body to enter the body of Amaruka, what will happen is my body will remain like a dead body. So you disciples, you protect this body till I come back. So he went. Suddenly in the kingdom everybody found that king who everybody thought has met death and has died. There was no prana. Suddenly he got up. And days were passing. Nearly 1 month passed. But the queen started having some doubt. From something she started doubting. And then ultimately she thought that, is it that somebody has entered this body? And she sent people to find out. And anyway, she was happy that king is okay. So she thought that all the dead bodies, which is 1 month old or just after the 1 month, all those should be burnt. So she sent people to burn off the bodies which had died just 1 month back or little later. And meanwhile, Shankaracharya was not coming back. 1 month had passed. So the Shishyas, they were getting very worried why he is not coming. And they thought that maybe he is enjoying himself. And before he went also, Padmapalacharya and others, they told him, that gave some example of some king, some other incident where the sage did not come back. So Shankaracharya said that no, I will come back. But it so happened he was not coming back. So they all went to the king's palace, leaving the body. They went to the king's palace and they started singing, which only the guru will understand that the disciples are singing this. Nistamasi nirajasi nirgalita chitte tejasi viveka jushi bhedamati shunye nirvachana manasa padati gama chintyam tattvamasi 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 rajan. They want to say this tattvamasi mahavakya to the king. You understand? There are 4 mahavakyas, out of which tattvamasi is one. That is, you are that. You are that tattva. You are that spiritual knowledge. So they want to tell the king that they have come. You should understand, we disciples have come. And how will they say? They have said, because that guru also knows this shloka. So they said, Nistamasi nirajasi nirgalita chitte tejasi viveka jushi bhedamati shunye nirvachana manasa padati gama chintyam tattvamasi 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 rajan. All that is, you are this. Goes telling the attributes of the self to the king. They came as musicians to the sabha and telling the attributes of the self, oh Raja, you are that, you are that, you are that. So in a sense, you are that self. So when the Raja heard this, Shankaracharya understood that my disciples have come. He got out of the body. By the time he went to his body, already the body was ignited by those people whom the queen had sent. But he survived. So like this, he was going here and there. And so he came back. He had again he had debate with Vandana Mishra's wife, Ubhaya Bharati. Now he knows what is this Kama Shastra. She asked him questions and he very satisfied, finally gave all the replies, and Ubhaya Bharati was defeated. Then Ubhaya Bharati said, I will leave my body, let my husband take up sannyasa and go along with you. So Shankaracharya said, I will establish temples for you, where the deity will be Sharada, and that is what is there in Sringeri Sharada Pitham. Now, after that, he started his travels again with his disciples, and he went to Mukamlika, a place near Kerala, where he found one Brahmin coming to him, and the Brahmin said that I have got a son who is an idiot. He neither takes food, neither takes bath. If somebody scolds him, he doesn't even respond. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't give reply to anything. He's an idiot. He has not learned anything. He's a Brahmin boy. He should learn all the Vedas. Nothing he is doing. So, Shankaracharya said, lifted the boy, very young boy. So the boy said, in 12 shlokas, which is called Hastamalaka Stotram, he said that I am in the nature, my nature is the self, and I am always realizing the self. Sanityopalabdhi swarupohamatma. All the 12 shlokas end with this. Sanityopalabdhi swarupohamatma. My swarupa, my real identity is that I am that Nitya, I am the eternal self, and I am always realizing that. So Shankaracharya looked at the Brahmin and said, see, your son, he must have done lot of these practices in the earlier life, and that is why he has this realization. So don't try to take him to your house, let him follow me, and he is already realized. So he gave him the name Hastamalaka. Hastamalaka means, this gooseberry, amla, if we can just hold it in our hand. So for this boy, the self-knowledge and self-realization was as if holding an amlaki in the hand. So steadfast and stable was he in his realization that it did not matter to him what others said and what others are doing. So Hastamalaka also started traveling with Shankaracharya. Then they went to Sringeri, and there he established that temple where he established the Divine Mother with the name Sharada. Even now the temple is there and everybody goes there. At Sringeri, a new disciple joined. His name was Giri. And he was noted for his obedience, Guru Seva, righteousness. He would never criticize others. He will not sit idly anywhere. He will not do much in the presence of the Guru. And he will never show his back to the Guru. He was absolutely absorbed in the needs of the Guru. The Guru never had to even say that I need this or this is my requirement. There are 3 kinds of Shishyas. Uttama, Madhyama and Adhama. The Uttama Shishya, before the Guru says that I need this, the Uttama Shishya will understand that this is the requirement or my Guru would be needing this. He will do that work. Madhyama is, if the Guru comes and tells, please do this, he will do. And Adhama is, even if the Guru says, he will not do. So, one must become an Uttama Shishya. He was an Uttama Shishya. He could understand what Shankaracharya needed at what time. Such Shishyas alone can do personal service to their Guru. See, when you do service to your Guru, personal service especially, you have to give up all the requirements of your bodily comfort. Guru may call you at night. Maybe he wants a glass of water, or he needs some food, or he wants to go somewhere or call somebody. So you should be awake. He may be just as when you are going for rest, that Guru wants you to do some work. So you cannot take rest. So I remember when I had the great opportunity of serving Pujya Swamiji, Swamiji has said if you serve, you have to give me freedom. I should have the freedom to call you at any time of the day. And at that time, you should come happily and do whatever is necessary. So this is what one Uttama Shishya must do. Unreservedly, unconditionally, happily. Not grumbling later on. Oh, I have become very tired. I was called at this time of the day. I could not sleep at all. And yesterday night also it became very late. So, not like that. So he was like that. So everybody used to think. So he would not come to classes. Sometimes maybe the Guru has given him some work which he is doing. Meanwhile the class has started. So he cannot come. So he sometimes used to miss the classes also. Everybody thought he was unintelligent and dull. So they were not treating him well also. So one day Shankaracharya thought that people should understand his qualities. Totakacharya Giri was that day washing the Guru's loincloths. The class timings were there, everybody had come for the class. So he came to the class and said, "Where is Giri?" So they said that he must be somewhere doing something. You please start the class, all others have come. Then Shankaracharya said, "No, I will not." And he started calling Giri. Not only that, in his mind, he gave him illumination. And Giri came, he was suddenly illumined, he suddenly composed verses, one Ashtakam, which is called, later on was known as Totaka Ashtakam, because it is written in Totaka Chanda, Totaka rhythm. So he started humming that and entered the class. And it says, one of the shloka is this. Viditanamaya vishadaika kala na cha kinchana kanchanamasti guru drutameva vidhehi kripam sahajam bhava shankara deshika me sharanam viditanamaya vishadaika kala na cha kinchana kanchanamasti guru drutameva vidhehi kripam sahajam bhava shankara deshika me sharanam. He says, I do not know many things. Viditana maya vishadaika kala. I don't know anything. Like yesterday I chanted one shloka for the goddess. I do not know what is a mantra. I do not know how to make a prayer. I do not know any stuti for you. I do not know how to invoke you. I know nothing. So he is saying, I know nothing. Nacha kanchana kinchana masti guru. Neither do I have anything like gold or money to offer at your feet. I have nothing. What I want is only this. Drutameva vidhehi kripam sahajam. I only want your kripa. I only want your grace, O my Lord. I want nothing from you. And I have nothing to give you also. Bhava shankara deshika me sharanam. Deshika means Guru. O Guru Shankara, I take refuge at your feet and please give me your grace. Hridaye kalaye vimalam charanam bhava shankara deshika me sharanam. Hridaye kalaye vimalam charanam. What should be actually playing inside our heart? The holy feet of Sri Guru. We should be constantly thinking. Vimalam charanam. So, but what we think about? We think about our sons, our daughters, and these days, grandchildren. You are full with grandchildren, what they are doing, how they have taught, how they have walked, what they have learned. So, where is the place for Guru? There. He says, Hridaye kalaye vimalam charanam. So when he started saying this, Then Shankaracharya gave him the name Totaka Acharya and said that you are one of the best disciples. So he then consolidated all his work from one place to another, everywhere he traveled. This is reminding me. Very recently, Swamiji's one devotee couple, they lost their 28-year-old son. A very brilliant son. He was having a very good job, very promising, but he suddenly had a brain disease. And for 2 months he suffered in the hospital, every day deteriorating, and ultimately the end came. Throughout this, we were talking to the mother, sometimes the father, especially mother, the manner in which she was speaking. She was saying that my mind is absolutely at my Guru's feet, and that is how I am able to steer through this crisis. And this voice was very happy. I won't say happy, but very calm voice. I would say it was full of a purity, full of a delight of some different nature. And again she was saying that my mind is absolutely still at my Guru's feet. And one day she was saying, I think all this had to happen to understand what is Guru Bhakti. I think that now I understand what is this Guru Bhakti is. The son is like this. When the son was in the ventilator, one day she was telling me that she was reading some book written by a bhakta, and she was having horripilation. She was saying that I got up and I was thinking, how can a mother have this kind of spiritual horripilation when the son is in ventilator and there is no surety whether he is going to live? I was feeling like, she was saying, I was feeling like calling everybody and saying that, see, this also can happen. So anyway, Shankaracharya then, he established 4 mutts because he was told by Vyasadeva and Shiva also that he should do something so that whatever he has learned, how he has revived, all those should be stable. Competent disciples should guard this knowledge. So he now got 4 very good disciples. Padmapadacharya, then Hastamadaka, Totakacharya, and Mandana Mishra was named Sureshwaracharya. So he made 4 mutts in 4 sets. In east, it is in Puri, and Hastamadaka was given the charge because of the Hastamadaka who was selected because of his supreme self-realization. In the west, it is in Dwaraka, and Padmapada was given the charge because he had intense devotion. North was in Badri, where Totakacharya was sent for his exemplary service to the Guru. And south is in Sringeri, where Sureshwaracharya was sent for his deep learning. And all these mutts function even now, to this day, and propagates the Advaita Vedanta. Even now they are vibrant. So the work that he started, the work for which he took incarnation, and that is continuing even now. So this is what Shankaracharya is. And we are from that parampara. He made 10 types of sannyasis, and then he gave names like Puri, Giri, Vana, Ranya, Tirtha, Saraswati, Ashrama, etc., etc. And we also belong to the Tirtha parampara. Now, why I told about Shankaracharya, I think when we read something, see, we are reading the Upanishads, we are reading the Bhagavad Gita, now I am taking this Upadesha Panchakam. In the morning, Swamiji is talking about Vivekachudamani for so many years. I think none of us feel the work that he has done. At this age, up to the age of 32 only, he survived. And in that young age, from what he has done, traveled from here to there in those days where there was no vehicle to even go on foot. And trying to revive our Sanatana Dharma, trying to revive the Vedic injunctions, and trying to tell people that moksha can be attained. And this is what you must think, that individual self is Brahman itself. Okay. Sampurnam Jagadevanandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samastavari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriyaha Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani Sarvavasthitirasya vastu vishaya drishte parabrahmani Jai Guru, Jai Guru.